On the 15th of June 2019, which is about a year ago, I started pursuing my dream as a game developer. And this is my journey so far and all the things I've learned in 10 minutes. So in high school, I had this amazing computing teacher that taught me Visual Basic, and I immediately fell in love with programming. The language was very easy. I guess that's why it's called Basic. I made several games with that language and I had a blast, but I never considered it as a career. My family is quite old school, and so to say, I knew my parents wouldn't be happy if I told them that this is what I wanted to pursue. I did a computer science and business management degree after I finished high school, and it was okay. I've always been into video games, and when I finished my undergraduate degree, I decided that this is the direction I want to take. My parents weren't pleased, but they let me anyways. I cannot blame them for not understanding or thinking is wrong, but this is what I want to do. I want to create experiences for people to enjoy. When I installed Unity, the world changed for me. I fell in love with C# as I have done bits of JavaScript before, and I was very comfortable with the basics. I started doing tutorials on YouTube, Udemy, and I started reading loads of books about game development. Of course, it's good to have aspirations, but you also have to understand what you're getting yourself into. I got this basic Unity course on Udemy to start with the technical side and completed all the course like this, and this. I also did some YouTube tutorials that surprisingly were even better than the ones I took from Udemy, and they were free. I'm sure you've heard many of them as well, such as Brackeys, Blackthorn, and also Jonas. I did some research and reading on what it takes to become a game dev and watched loads of YouTube videos for a while. I think it's super important to understand what it takes to become a great game designer. Here are some of the keys I learned. Tip number 1. Learn as much as possible from other fields like art, music, marketing, programming, history, mythology, and the list goes on, especially if you're an indie. Tip number 2. Know your strong points. Consider your specialization. It's important to know what you're good at, so that way you can use it at your most advantage. Tip number 3. Understand what game designers actually do. I will tell you this now. You're not going to be the one that comes up with ideas. It's actually management and communication. And if you're working a team, especially if you're working in a team and you're just a game designer, you will be the one transforming everybody's vision into this game. After 3 months, I realized that you can only do so much with tutorials online. I realized that in order to get better, you have to do something very important, and I call it break through the tutorial barrier. When you start, it's very normal to go through the same phases as me, but you realize that at one point, that is not good enough. You will know you broke the barrier when you start to prototype random ideas that you have in mind, constantly reading the Unity documentation rather than doing tutorials online, and also participate on game jams. But until then, try to force yourself and read Unity's documentation as much as possible. Apply and experiment new concepts. Participate on game jams even though you don't know much. For those who don't know what a game jam is, game jams are marathons where you have to finish a game, usually based on a theme, in a very small amount of time. Game jams can teach you how to finish a game, you get to have a bigger quantity of player feedback, you get to network with other people who shares the same passion as you, and also maybe even working in a team. This will be very useful as it teaches you team dynamic. I decided with one of my best friends that we would want to try to make a proper game. Tadpole Tales. We made a super small game before called Maddie to test out the waters, and our team dynamic was perfect. It was like it's meant to be. We got over 1,000 views. That of course boosted our confidence, and it was mainly thanks to Giacomo's amazing art. Giacomo and I have always dreamed of becoming a game studio together, and we will make a living out of creating games. Tadpole Tales is a 2D hand-drawn shoot-'em-up game about a tadpole cleaning rivers and fighting pollution. We want to make a beautiful 2D frame-by-frame game that is free, that has a nice message, and that everybody can enjoy. I started documenting it from the start on YouTube through devlogs. I met a lot of lovely people like you. Through this, we managed to get a lot of feedback from you guys, and our game is slowly getting better and better, so thank you for that. I started doing live streams where I just chat with you all and work. Game development can sometimes feel daunting and lonely, so it feels a little bit less lonely when I'm with you all. If you feel the same, I definitely recommend doing it as well. I've also started doing this informal podcast called Gamedev Chatterbox, where I talk with some really talented people like Zeiger, Game Maker Tim, Stefan, and more. I hope that this can inspire anyone who's interested in game development, as I've learned so many valuable lessons from each and every one of them.
No matter what anyone says, as long as you're enjoying it, you'll be fine.
If you have like a workflow that really produces like quality stuff, then just stick to that workflow and don't all of a sudden abandon it because you get greedy and want to rush out something.
Just make sure you're working every day. This is something that people say a lot, and it's really true. Don't let one day pass without working on something you like. I mean, don't let one day pass without working on something, full stop, and then don't, if that cannot happen, I mean, if sometimes, at least work for something you like, work towards something, that makes you happy.
Yeah, but it's just the fact, stay motivated with what you're doing, because if you keep putting out good quality work and you put as much time as you can, you will eventually grow. And like, it will depend on like however long that takes. It depends from person to person. It might take, a couple days, it might take a month, or it might take even like a couple years. It really just depends. But as long as you're enjoying what you're doing,
that shouldn't
keep
matter,
doing
right?
it. Yeah, it shouldn't matter anyway. And it's just about staying motivated.
One of the most important things is that developing games is really fun. So you have to always aim for making games that are fun for you to play, because then you can really put passion into your project. And I think that's the most important, because otherwise you would just create like soulless things that don't really have character.
I'm so happy of how far I got, from not knowing on how to program to actually have made several games. I'm super grateful of the friends I've made along the way, especially during this hard time. You guys made this pandemic so much easier for me, and thank you.
What is my life?
Yo,
What is my life?
do you take William Eyelash to be your lawfully wedded husband/wife in sickness and in health?
Oh my God.
I think it was the nipple.
Okay, maybe.
God, wow.
Wow. In terms of our game, there are definitely problems, but that is the point. If you're just starting out, know this. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail. The only way you can improve is through failing. Here are some tips that I wish I knew when I started out. Tip number 1, start small. Make small projects. Allow yourself to make many mistakes and learn from them. So many times I see people seeking people's success, and yet nobody asks what their failures were. So don't shy away or get discouraged. Everybody starts somewhere. If you're making games with the sole purpose of making money, don't. I know that the game industry is currently the largest entertainment industry, but if you're not doing it because you love it, then you're going to have a very tough and unpleasant journey. If you're going indie, you need to learn much more than game development. You need to learn business and many other things that you would have not thought that you needed. Yes, it's nice to have freedom when creating your game, but there's so much more than just making games. Tip number 4, knowledge is nothing without execution. Don't hold yourself back. Step out of your comfort zone. I believe the best way to tackle games is experimentation. So be bold and try your best. And yeah, that's about it so far. I'm still not making any money, but I will most probably not give up anytime soon. I believe my journey has only begun, and I'm super excited and happy to see how Tadpole Tales ends up. I want to thank each and every one of you who took the interest in watching my videos or even just interacting with me. I can't wait to see what happens next year and see all the amazing games we will make. Feel free to join my Discord or add me on Twitter if you want to chat or just talk about game devs in general. I hope this video gave you some insight and maybe even some inspiration. And with that being said, I wish you a wonderful day and thanks for watching. See you.